All right, one of the questions or things about this particular rifle is the headspace. Now, when it comes to headspacing the gun, I remember I had a live chat and the guy goes, how do you headspace a gun without headspace gauges? You don't. Okay, not safely, not to get an accurate reading, you don't. Okay, well everybody, well, it's 6.5 Carcano and it will not be listed in your gunsmithing things. Rarely, if ever. Maybe, maybe not. So what I did is I went to Pacific Tool and Gauge Company and I bought a set of headspace gauges, and there's 3 different sizes. Okay, and this is why it's critical. You will get 3 different sizes of the headspace gauges. Let me hold one up. This is the go gauge with the green. Okay, and how it works is from where the shoulder of your chamber is, that's where it locks up. When you close the bolt on this, it closes all the way. You're good. And the green one is supposed to go, and if you close on the red one, okay, that's the no-go gauge. That means the chamber's somewhat out of spec. What is the difference? The difference between the green one, the go gauge, and the red one is generally 5 thousandths. So if your chamber from the face of your bolt to where you shoulder your cartridge is within that 5 thousandths, you're generally good. Well, say you close on the red one. That's where you need the field gauge. The field gauge is another 5 thousandths. And if it closes on the field gauge, that's way too much. You got your 5 thousandths, and then you got, this would be, okay, once again, let's start. Okay, so go gauge goes 0 to 5 thousandths. Okay. The no-go gauge goes from there, which that's 0 to 5. This would go another 5, which is 10 thousandths. So when you put the no-go gauge in, it shouldn't close. If it closes on the no-go, that means you got 10 thousandths from the face of the bolt to your shoulder. And then when you have the field gauge, it's another 5 thousandths. And if you close on the field gauge, okay, or get it to go in there, that's 15 thousandths difference. This is a warning. Okay, that's how it is. It's 5 thousandths increments. So even if it kind of barely closes on the, or halfway closes on the no-go, that's still good. Okay? It's when you close on this sucker that you got problems on the field gauge. Now, I bought these. They cost over about 120 bucks for the set, and it took me 6 or 8 months for them to make them up for me. From Pacific Gauge and Tool Company is where I got them, and they have they will make up all the military calibers, Japanese, German, whatever, and these Carcanos. A lot of people won't buy them because they're extremely expensive. A lot of gunsmiths don't carry them because it's tying up money. But the reason I got them, when you owned over 24 different Carcano rifles, it's pretty neat to gauge, use the headspace gauges and check, especially like one I had didn't have a bolt, found a bolt, put it in there, made sure it was okay. And in all of those guns that I gauged, okay, none of them closed on a no-go. Partially, almost, but none of them would actually close easily and allow this one to get in on all of these guns. Okay? So now people say these things don't headspace right. Okay? So we're going to try running the headspace gauges on this one, and we'll see what we come up with. And I know the way I'm doing this is wrong. You're supposed to take off the extractor and all. So we're just doing this down and dirty quickly. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take our little magazine block, which you can turn this into a single shot type of ordeal here, lock that in. Alright, I'm going to take the first one, kind of ease that sucker up in there, closes, so the go gauge goes. Alright, yay. I'm going to put our no-go gauge in. Okay. Ooh, closes all the way. That's another thing to. So, no-go goes in. Take the field gauge. Does not quite go all the way down. The bolt doesn't lock all the way down. So what this is telling me, about 13 thousandths, okay, or 14 thousandths, I'd say 13, because without it in there, it goes all the way down. So this is telling me that this is head-spaced long, way long. And yes, if you fire full power ammo in this, it is going to develop some weird pressures. So let's get another one and check it. Alright, this is the one that groups real well. So I'm curious to see what goes on here. And I have not head spaced these just before today. Okay, so let's see if we get this one. This one's tight on the go. It's not quite closing all the way down. And see, the bolt handle, it ain't even starting to turn on the no-go. So this chamber is actually tight. It didn't quite get the go gauge to go all the way down. And this is probably why this gun shoots better than the other ones. Okay, so we got a tight chamber here. We got the reverse with the other. And I have the third one we'll look at. And that's why when people ask me, why do you have like 5 examples of these guns? Because as you see, okay, you run into this thing here where the headspace is bad, kind of bad on one. It's different on the other, the exact opposite. So let's take our last one and see what we got. Okay, now we're going to run the last one, the third one, and see what we end up with here. Okay, go gauge. Try to get that up underneath the extractor. Okay, closed all the way down. So the go gauge goes with no issues. No go gauge. Okay, the no go gauge does not go all the way down. Okay, in other words, it's not closing all the way down. So that you would say is good. Okay. So we'll take our last gauge and see that up here, it's not closing. So this one is head spacing good, the way it should. It closes on the go and it does not close all the way on the no-go. So this one is within, you know, the 5 thousandths, yeah. It's within the 10 thousandths. I have to reassess that, yeah. 0 to 5, 10. So I'd say probably this one's running again, maybe 7 thousandths, which is well within. It doesn't close on a no-go, so it's not over 10 thousandths. I believe that's how you'd read it in measurement. So this one's good to go. Okay, so out of 3 guns, one is kind of short in the chamber, one is correct, you know, standard, doesn't close on a no-go. The other one slightly doesn't close on the field. All right, so what does it all mean? Well, the one that didn't quite close all the way on the field gauge, that would be a gun that probably, if you loaded them squib loads or something and they had the case head separation, that is probably in a gun that headspace like that. Okay, they didn't check the guns with headspace gauges. They didn't mention that in the video. But I can see that happening with that one gun. This one here up on the table that it didn't quite close on the no-go, and the other one didn't quite close on the go, which means kind of shorter. And that's why that one shoots better. Okay, and I've only shot cast bullets. That would not be good, the shortness with full strength cartridge. These little squib rounds, it's probably why it works better than that, because the chamber's a tad short, a hair short. This one up on the table, the last one I did is normal. Probably, and I know none of these people headspaced their rifles. Probably if your headspace was good, it'd be less of an issue. If your headspace is well over 10 thousandths long, I mean almost swallowing the field gauge, this would cause that case separation, like I said. That's when your headspace is off. Your cartridge would rupture because there's too much room. And when the thing goes off, that means that cartridge started probably to grab up by the neck, but there's so much room, the force is pushing it back, and that's when it'll rupture or split. That's a sign of a bad headspace. Okay? And that is what caused that failure. Okay, now I've fired that gun with the cast bullet load, and the accuracy just kind of ain't there. The accuracy was better on the one that headspaced better, but there was no ill effect. None of the cases come out funny. Probably that's why I was getting the blowback, is like I said, the reason you get the blowback is that case isn't flying out and expanding, so it probably just shifts back that little bit against the bolt and pushes the bullet along, but it lets some gas escape. Okay? Low pressure. Probably, like I said, I put 40, 50 rounds through it. Nothing's cracked or anything, but I'll know probably I won't shoot that one, knowing that the headspace is off, and just keep these two here. Now I had, two other ones, but I didn't have the gauges at the time to check them, and they were in, either they were dupes or their condition wasn't as good as the ones I had here. And like I said, the one with the polished stock I was going to sell because I didn't like the idea they sanded all the markings and the butt plate's proud, but it shot well. That's why I kept it. These other ones have nice markings and that on there, so now yes. Like I said, 24 Carcanos. None of them closed on the red gauge. None of them. Okay, and some of them I swapped out the bolts. I even moved bolts from one to another and all this other just to see. And none of them would take and close all the way on a red gauge, the no-go gauge. So that goes to show. All right, so again, approach these guns with caution and beware. That's my warning. That's at least my technical expertise on this. So yeah, they are questionable, and like I said before, I don't recommend firing. You may get away with firing 20, 40 rounds of full power ammo through one of these. That one there with the headspace off, you won't get through a box without an issue of some sort. Okay? And, to invest that amount of money I did for the gauges just to check one gun isn't worth it. So that's the long and short of it. So beware, be careful, and hit the like button, stay tuned, and subscribe.